Why are people always arguing with each other? In their romantic relationships, in their families, in their friendships, even in my comments section? A huge component of it is something actually quite simple. Many people cannot grasp the concept that everyone's beliefs come from their own experiences. Today I'm going to share exactly how people get into fights as a result of not understanding this simple concept, so that hopefully by the end of the video, you'll have a better understanding of others and be better equipped to avoid unnecessary conflicts. Let's just dive right in. Let me paint you a picture. Joanna is moving from the US to Germany. She loves it there. Joanna loves meat. She personally doesn't experience anyone being unkind to her, and she enjoys the cold. Meanwhile, LaDawn moves from Somalia to Germany. Her experience is very different. She doesn't personally enjoy the cuisine, she experiences a lot of xenophobia, and she develops seasonal affective disorder during the harsh winters. LaDawn goes to an immigrant group where she shares her negative experience about Germany. There she meets Joanna, who disagrees with her wholeheartedly. Joanna thinks that Germans are actually quite friendly. She thinks the food is tasty. She likes the climate. And the two of them get into a heated argument about whether Germany is a terrible place for immigrants. What's going on here? Who's right and who's wrong? Well, in a sense, both of them are right. Both of their beliefs are informed by personal experiences. Joanna had a lovely experience, so she believes Germany is a great place for immigrants. LaDawn had a terrible experience, so she believes Germany is hostile to immigrants. But neither of them realizes that they're both speaking from their own subjective lenses. They both assume that their personal experience is a reflection of reality everywhere, for everyone. And they think that the other person is deliberately going against the universal truth, when really the truth is they had different experiences, so they have different perspectives. Let me give you another example. Marco and Lucia got into a fight because Lucia asked Marco to clean the bathroom counters, but she doesn't think he did it properly. Marco then accuses Lucia of yelling at him, but she doesn't consider it to be yelling. What's going on underneath the surface here? Marco simply doesn't pay attention to details as much as Lucia does. What he thinks is clean, other people might not. Lucia, on the other hand, was raised to have a very keen eye for imperfections in the environment. Also, Lucia had quite volatile parents. She heard yelling almost every day growing up. To her, speaking in a slightly hostile tone or raising her voice by a couple of decibels isn't yelling. It's just her expressing frustration. Meanwhile, Marco's parents didn't yell growing up, so he disagrees. Again, both individuals bring their unique subjective experiences to the interaction. What neither of them is grasping is that the other person also has past experiences that make their behaviors and beliefs true, make them make sense in that context. There's a concept in psychoanalytic psychology called mentalization, which is essentially the ability for us to understand other people's internal experiences, their thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and drives. For example, when somebody is talking to you at work and they have their hand on the door handle, somebody who can mentalize might think, they might be in a rush to leave the conversation. Maybe they're shy, maybe they don't like me so much, maybe they have somewhere to get to, maybe they hate small talk. Mentalization is related to cognitive empathy, sometimes called theory of mind, which is the ability to understand other people's emotions without necessarily feeling them, which would be called affective empathy. Theory of mind is developed at around age 4, while mentalization becomes fully fleshed out in adolescence. But unfortunately, a lot of people have a deficit in mentalization. They never developed that skill. Sometimes early attachment issues from caregivers who are unpredictable, invalidating, or volatile can cause this. Early trauma, where what a person feels becomes synonymous with what is true, or sometimes neurobiological disorders can be at play, like autism spectrum disorder. Other people did develop the skill of mentalization, but they fail to use it during times of high stress, like during conflict, or when they're feeling emotionally dysregulated, or when they've regressed to an earlier developmental stage because of high stress. So what this means is we have a lot of people who at any given moment are engaging with others and fundamentally do not understand the concept that other people have different past experiences, beliefs, thoughts, drives, and emotions from them. They move through the world in a very egocentric lens. The way I experience the world is the way everyone else must experience it. And as you can imagine, when they meet someone who challenges their universal truth, they get very angry because they don't consider that person to merely have a different life experience. They think that that person is deliberately ignoring reality. They simply cannot fathom why someone would possibly believe the things that they do. What's the takeaway here? The next time you're about to get into an argument with someone, stop, take a moment for yourself, and ask yourself, where is this person coming from? What set of experiences might they have had that led them to think this way? In what set of situations might I believe what they believe? Let's say your cousin is going off about conspiracies and how he's a victim of the powers that be in every facet of his life. You remember that this person lost his job a few years ago, right before he was about to get his pension. He felt unfairly targeted and powerless at the time. Now, you don't have to agree to his opinion. You'll more than likely stick to your own, in fact. But now you can approach the argument with a better understanding of why he thinks the way he does. And instead of flipping a table over how offensive he's being, you're able to keep your calm and rebut his points with logic and reason. Another perk of mentalizing is it means you'll be more receptive to input when you're actually wrong. Remember the example I gave earlier of Joanna and Ladan, who disagreed on whether Germany is welcoming to foreigners? By listening to Ladan's experience, Joanna might start to realize, oh, you know what? I might have had a positive experience, but that doesn't mean that everyone who immigrates here does. Ladan had a completely different experience because she has a very different background and set of preferences. Maybe there's some truth to what she's saying. Maybe, for example, racism can sometimes exist in Germany. So often we argue with people about who's right and who's wrong, but the truth is somewhere in the middle. We are right in some circumstances and they're right in others. It's often not a matter of who's right and who's wrong, but rather under what conditions we are right versus wrong. Once you start to view things that way, arguing with people starts to get a lot harder, because the more we can understand each other, understand where people are coming from, the more we can have empathy for them and have conflict in more constructive ways. Hey there, just hopping on here real quick to let you know that I now have a Patreon where you can find more exclusive and ad-free content. I post one video a month on there that didn't make it to YouTube for whatever reason, either because it's more unfiltered than my usual content, it's too niche for the algorithm, it's not something I want to share with the general audience, and so on and so forth, as well as exclusive stories and personal essays written by me. At the very least, I post one essay per month on there, but I love writing so much that I'll probably post a lot more, to be honest. Being at the mercy of an ever-changing algorithm isn't always fun, so if you want a way to support the channel and make sure I can keep making these videos for you guys, link is in the description down below. Hope this was helpful. Let me know what you thought, and take care.